Today I'm going to talk about choosing a site for your Trachycarpus fortunei and how it impacts their appearance. So these ones in front of you are grown in full sun. It's south facing. There's no shade on these palms, and I think what you can see is the very stiff upright appearance. So these are the Trachycarpus fortunei Chinese windmill palm, pretty standard palm that many of us grow. And these ones have been here for about 4 years, and they have over time changed their appearance, and now they have adapted to growing in a full sun condition. Very stiff upright form to them. The petiole, which is kind of the branch or whatever you want to call it, but I mean it's called the petiole, that attaches at the palm trunk, goes to the base of the frond on this particular trachy are 20 to 22 inches, and the length of the frond from the base all the way up here is only 17 inches. Very short, stiff fronds. There is very little spacing between each of the leaflets. I have some shade grown ones that I'm going to show you after for comparison, but each of these kind of leaflet blades are wide, very little spacing in between, so that it's more of a solid surface. They are shorter and very stiff, and that's as a result of growing in this full sun condition. I also find that the fronds are densely packed, as in the spacing on the trunk. They come out very close together, so there isn't a whole lot of trunk space between each of the fronds. And these ones also do not hold onto all their fronds top to bottom. I've only been taking out the browning, yellowing or browning fronds, and just leaving the green ones. So these ones are not holding onto the lower fronds like many of my other palms are. So this is kind of what you can expect to see in a full sun location. This one to the left here, the fronds are slightly bigger, a little bit longer, and then the one behind that is kind of the same thing, but they're very densely packed. They're you can see they're not drooping at the tips. They're just very firm looking, and so there's a little bit of genetic variation between these three, which is what we would expect to see. They don't all look the same, and when you own multiples of them, you will start to, the differences will become apparent to you. So this is what it looks like in a full sun location. These ones in particular are quite different looking than many of the ones I've seen in full sun. So we'll see how they develop over time. This is the first year that they're actually putting on some decent amount of trunk. So next we will go and take a look at some of the shade grown ones. Now we're looking at one of my shade grown palms. We get some sun in the morning and some sun in the late afternoon, but the house tends to block it. The sun generally is on the other side of the house for most of the year. And what you can see with this one is it has very long stretched petioles. I did measure them. They were anywhere between 48 and 52 inches long, which is double of the ones in the front. And the actual length of the frond was 24 inches from the base, so 50% larger. And this palm also has a more of a dark green color, whereas the ones in the front were a little bit more of a pale green. I'm not sure how well it's showing up. It's kind of tough to say with the sun kind of backlighting the fronds, but let's get in and take a closer look. So you can see how stretched out. Look how long these are, and they're just kind of loose and floppy. And the fronds themselves are definitely a lot bigger. And they also tend to be, the tips, right? They tend to also be more floppy. That's what I tend to find the ones grown in the shade, whereas the ones in the sun, they're the shorter, stiffer, they tend to hold up better to it, and they do adapt to it over time. So when you plant a palm, it may look one way, maybe shade, more shade grown and floppy like this one. But when you put it into the sun, those new fronds that will be coming out will be much shorter. And so it will take a while for that palm to transition. If it was a very kind of compact one that was grown in the sun, and you put it into the shade, then you get these long petioles. And also the kind of like the leaflets, they are very, like, let's look at this one up here. You can see how much space and how narrow they are, whereas the ones in the sun tend to be more compact. And you saw that on the previous video. So those are the differences that you can expect. I also find that the shade grown ones tend to have a little bit more spacing between the base of each petiole. So it is kind of nice because many of us can only grow one type of trunking palm. I'm lucky I can grow a few, not very many, but for those of us that can only grow Trachycarpus, by putting them in different locations in your yard, you can actually have very different looking palm trees. And even amongst the palm trees themselves, there is a certain level of genetic variation in regards to frond shape and size, the fiber on the trunk, how fast they grow, how many fronds they hold on to. I think always, like, a healthy palm will always hold on to fronds top to bottom. I removed a couple just recently because I had about 3 or 4 all in this area, and it was just a little much. So, but you can see I've left a lot of the fronds. So the ones in the front, it's a much drier spot, and they actually have fronds that turn yellow, whereas these shade grown ones, they really like to hold on to everything. So I hope that helps illustrate the differences of what you can expect. Personally, I really like the look of a shade grown Trachycarpus, or one that's in part shade or part sun. I like the stretched out appearance. I think it's a little bit more of a tropical vibe to it. But I do appreciate ones that don't look messy like this one. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.